super excited to have you here today. Welcome to my home buyer series for this spring of 2023. Today's topic is going to be home inspections and why you should never, ever skip out on a home inspection. I've worked with buyers now for 20 years, and this is one of the biggest questions. Do we really need one? So my name is Athena Chalikas Barocas. I'm a top producer. I'm an award-winning realtor here in sunny South Florida. And I have been selling luxury homes for over 20 years. And to this day, I still absolutely love it. So if you know someone who's thinking about buying a home or you have a question about the home inspection process, drop it below and let's get those questions answered today during our brown bag lunch. So, the home inspection process, it comes in at a time that after you've looked for homes, you've been out there, you've been going from door to door, you've negotiated maybe one or two homes, you finally put your money into escrow. This is the home we really want to buy. This is the home we absolutely love. What's next? The home inspection process. And it's really an important process because it's the first time that you as a buyer have control. That's right. Up until this point, the seller has had control. When can you see the property? What are they going to tell you? How is it prepared? They have had total control. During the buying process, this is the only time you as a buyer have control. You have some say in this process. So let's get to it. Let's really start to understand what's going on. So the first reason it's important, because this is your only out clause. This is the one that says, I'm going to go through this home, I'm going to learn everything about it, and if I, the buyer, like it, I'm moving on. If not, I'm taking my money, my deposit, and I'm going to go find another home. But this is what takes place, is that the home inspector comes in and they look at everything. They look at the structural, they look at the plumbing, the roof, the electrical. They look at every opportunity for you to understand if there is any issues, structural or systems. Systems, let's talk about systems. We have the washer, we have the dryer. But here in Florida, what's our biggest system? The air conditioning unit. So we do need to understand what's going on there. Does it have 10 years? Is it the end of the life? Is the compressor just spinning? These are things that you need to understand as a buyer. And, this is one of the issues that we have in South Florida, is that you walk into a home, you fell in love with it. Maybe it has the glistening pool. Maybe it has that beautiful lake with the sunset. Maybe it's a 2-story home that you've always wanted. Maybe it has that kitchen and the space for you to have great family dinners or host events or whatever it is that brought you to love that home. And then in the home inspection process, here's something that comes up very frequently: poly pipes. So poly pipes are no longer used. They haven't been used for a very long time, and the insurance companies hate them. So it almost becomes uninsurable. So this is something you need to know. Not that you can't move forward, it's just something you need to know. So again, if you don't want poly pipes, you can cancel within the time frame of your contract, take your deposit and go look for a home that doesn't have poly pipes, or you can keep going. It's up to you as the buyer. But again, you're the one that has the power to make that decision. Another reason is safety. This is super important, and this is really where the home inspection is all about. Is the home safe? And if it isn't safe, what are the issues? Something would be maybe you're very sensitive, or someone in your family is very sensitive to particles in the air. You may want to test for mold. Maybe that's important for your safety. Maybe it's more house oriented. Look at the electrical box. Is it a electrical box that is new? Is it one that's been banished from the insurability list? Has a homeowner hired, listen to this one, has the homeowner hired electricians to come and do the work? Or have they been, finagling the wires themselves for the last 20 years? That is a safety issue, and that's something you really, really want to know. A third one, okay, this is the one we as realtors, we love. you as a buyer absolutely love. And that is it a negotiation tool? And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's a seller's market. Sometimes a buyer can ask for the sky. It's all going to depend. And we're going to get back to this one because here's where I want to spend a little bit more time. And I want to talk to you about those different opportunities and where it may make sense and where it may not. In my 20 years, I have seen buyers come into this process thinking they can take that whole inspection report, put it down on the table, and say, I want $20,000 credit. Well, that never works. So let's talk about it in length in a little while, and we can get a better idea on how to really use that report for your benefit. Okay, so we'll get to that. The other one is to really identify deal breakers. Now, what is a deal breaker? I have no idea. However, you as a buyer know your own deal breakers, and a deal breaker is different for every buyer because every buyer has a different level of tolerance and a different willingness to overcome challenges in a home, whether it's financial or they just simply want or don't want a project. Let me give you an example, and these are all real life examples. Let me give you an example. There you have a 2-story house and has that beautiful picture window on the top. Well, that beautiful picture window has been collecting water for the last 10 years. The whole encasement is gone. It is very fragile, but worse, the water has been leaking down into the wall. Yes, so now the wall will have to be open. We don't know what's behind it. How much is that window? Some buyers will go, no, I don't want that project. Others will be like, yeah, it's just a new window and some drywall. So it depends what it is. Nobody knows. Or else maybe there was a water intrusion, a leak somewhere in the house, anywhere. And the water has gone underneath the tile and the inspector tested and it's damp. There's water there. It's wet. So some buyers will say, that's okay. I don't care. I was going to change the tile anyway. It's perfectly fine. Other buyers will go, oh no, too big of a project. Do not want it. So again, the deal breaker is all going to depend on you as a buyer and what you feel that you want to do and those things you don't want to do. But if it's a deal breaker, better to know during the inspection period so you can go ahead and have that discussion with your realtor. Come up with some better solutions. Maybe you want to go back for credit. Maybe you just want out. But whatever it is, you have to have that discussion with your realtor in order to make sure that you are fully protected. So, the inspection period is such an important time. And the last one that is also super important goes back to your partner in buying this home, and that's your insurance company. So yes, we have to think about the insurance company. As a realtor, that's my number one thought as I'm going through the report and listening to the inspector tell me about the house. I'm thinking, how is this going to play out with the insurance company? And why is that important? Is because they're lending you the money and they'll dictate to you whether or not the condition of the home is insurable and how much that insurance is going to cost. So in Florida, we have some unique items. We have 2 unique items. One is the roof. So we have a roof life, a useful life. The builder puts it on, you got 30 years. Okay, hopefully it'll last 30 years. But there's a lot of times roofs just don't last. We have big rain, we have big wind, we have big heat out here. So all of that takes a toll on our roofs. However, if there's any type of weakness to that roof and it comes out on the report, the insurance company will require repairs and or replacement if it's too old. So let me say that again, repairs and or replacement. So we're talking big money, but again, big money in perception to what you're really buying. Some of the insurance companies are actually asking for roofs to be replaced even before the end of the useful life. So it's really, really important that you talk to your realtor and have a better understanding in what particular area was the roof built, what is the condition, and what is the insurability of it. We also talked about polypipes earlier. Insurance companies do not like polypipes. They do not like them at all. So what happens? Well, you can have the polypipes remediated. And that's a big job. Honestly, that's a big job. But it's doable and it just costs some money to do it. And you still have a beautiful home without the polypipes. So again, insurance is so important. And I hope you hear me on this one. So talk to your realtor, ask your realtor what's going to happen. Call your insurance company, ask them, hey, I just saw this house, I love it. This came out on the inspection report. And they'll give you an idea of what can be done and what cannot be done in order to move that sale forward for you. Because you're certainly not going to buy a home without insurance. That's just not going to happen under a financed offer. Under a cash offer, choices. Under a financed offer, no choices. So we talked a little bit about the insurance company. There are really more than one home inspection report. An insurance company doesn't want that big home inspection report. No. They're looking for a 4-point report, which really talks about the electrical, the plumbing. They're talking about the roof condition, the big items. They want to know about those big items. They're also going to ask you for a wind mitigation report. And that's important because all of your openings, as we call it in the industry, is really about the windows, the doors, and the garage doors. How are those covered? How are you protecting the wind from coming into the home? So the more upgraded the home is, newer garage door, newer front door, impact glass. These are big items. And if you have all of those items, plus a newer roof, the cost of your wind mitigation or your insurance is going to be much, much less than a home with an older roof, an older garage, an older front door, and panels. And believe me, nobody wants to put up panels during hurricane season. So, these are other things that you want to think about. So you take these reports, you give them to the insurance company, they analyze them, and they tell you what your insurance cost is going to be. So, going into a home inspection, going into searching for your home, it's really important to know what the insurance company is going to be looking for and how that can impact the overall cost of home ownership. So the bottom line, it's your responsibility as a buyer to learn everything there is about that home and to decide what is it that you will move forward with and what items are just not good for you and you want out. So again, this is the only time you as a buyer have control over the process. But let's jump into how can we negotiate an offer with a home inspection. Okay, it's not, every time I get a home inspection, I'm going to go to the seller, he's going to reduce the price. No, that is not how it occurs. First, we have to know what kind of market it is. Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? Or is it just a standard traditional market? So let's start with the seller's market. We all saw that in 2021. That's the seller's market with the line out the door, down the street, around the corner with buyers, on top of buyers, on top of buyers, trying to figure out how to get into that open house and how are they going to bid against 100 people at an open house. Okay, in that situation, you're not asking the seller for repairs. You're not asking the seller for replacement. The home inspection at this point is really for you as the buyer to understand the condition of the home that you want to buy. Let's switch it back about 15 years ago when it was a hot buyer's market. In a hot buyer's market, nobody's going to open homes. Realtors are doing their best to motivate the public and other realtors to come see the home and put an offer on it. And the homes are just sitting on the market and prices are coming down. So what happens in this market? Yes, you take that inspection report, you sit down with your realtor, you highlight everything that you think is reasonable, maybe a couple unreasonable ones in there, and you go back to the seller for either a reduced price or for repairs and replacement. That's a hot buyer's market. In a traditional market, it's more of a give and take, a conversation, and everybody is a little bit more reasonable. And so, in this market, I'll give you a good example. Is that there was a beautiful home I had listed, and there was really nothing wrong with the home. A little grout here, a little grout there, need to be replaced. But one item did show up. There was a pool. The owner went ahead and completely had new pumps put in and everything. But the one thing he did not change since the original build was the heater. So the heater of the pool was corroded, it was rusty, and it was at the end of its useful life. So the buyer came back, there was a discussion, the seller agreed. There's no point in turning over a home with a pool heater that is going to be defunct at any moment. And the owner didn't know about it prior to putting it on. So they gave them the reduction for the cost of a new heater, and everybody went on the way and had a happy transaction. That's what I refer to as reasonable. So in the seller's market, there's not going to be a lot of negotiation for a buyer to obtain any kind of credit or repairs or replacement. No. In a hot buyer's market, the seller really doesn't have any power in the negotiation. But during a traditional market, which all of us love, it's reasonable and it works. So, I'm getting a couple of questions here. Okay, the first question is, how much is a home inspection? Okay, that's going to really depend. It's a great question. It's a question I get from all my buyers, and it depends. The home inspection is going to depend on the square footage of the home and some of the extras that you might look for. So if it has a pool, you're going to definitely want them to look at the pool. So it's about $500 to $700 for a standard home. It can be over $1,000 for a larger home, and it can even be much more for a very large home. But for the standard 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom home, you're looking somewhere between $500, $700, maybe $800. And what comes with that home inspection? Well, you're going to get the home inspection. You're going to get the wind mitigation. Remember, we were talking about covering the windows, then the condition of the front door, and the condition of the garage door. That's the wind mitigation. And the 4-point. And that tells the lender about the systems of the home and the age of the roof and some other items. So those are the standard. There's 3 standard. You can also order, on addition to that, a termite report. If you're looking around and the fascia looks a little grungy, you may want to get a termite report. And then again, if you have a pool, you definitely want to get a separate report from an expert to inspect the pool and its systems, so you better understand everything. So those are the home inspection reports. And again, they can vary. So let's see, another question just came in. How do you choose a home inspector? Okay, we are very lucky in the state of Florida. Our home inspectors must go ahead and get their license from the DBPR. So not all states have such a very strong requirement for home inspectors. Actually, nationwide, there is no national requirement for home inspectors. So with that said, there are a couple of associations, 3 associations, that will give out certifications above what the DBPR requires. So you really want to do your due diligence. My recommendation, again, I've been selling homes for 20 years, and many realtors out there have been selling homes for a very long time. Ask your realtor. They're your trusted advisor. Get 2 or 3 different inspection companies. You as a buyer, call them up, talk to them, see who you really want to hire. Who are you comfortable with? And do you have to be there for the inspection? No. You don't have to be there for an inspection. But you can come by at the end and listen to it. You definitely want to call the inspector once you have the inspection report and go over it with the inspector. That is a must. A lot of buyers go, I don't know, I just think I'll read it. Okay, that's fine. But when you have a question, you have to call the home inspector. That is the expert. and they will guide you through that report. So, it's really, really, really important to go with the correct inspector. I'll give you a story. I got lots of stories. I'll give you a story. So there was a listing I was at, and it's my client's property I was selling, and I do attend the inspections. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching. This inspector comes by, cross, photo, gone. Gone in like 30 minutes. An inspection takes at least 2 hours. What did he inspect? I have no idea. Was this a quality inspector? I don't know. I really don't know. But this is what I do know, and this is my takeaway. There was no inspection. There's just no way you can do a standard house in 30 minutes. So again, know the inspector, know the reputation, Google them, call them. But again, ask your agent, your realtor, to give you some references so you can make a good decision. So I hope this was helpful to you. We got some great questions out there. We had some great comments. I hope you all took the poll. And next week, I'm going to be doing a brown bag lunch on pre-approvals. This is another one of the 5. There's 10, oh my gosh, there's like over 100 touch points in a home buying process, over 100. But I tell my clients, listen, you only need 5. If you can go ahead and just concentrate on the 5 that you must do and follow my buyer method, you will find the house that you like and you'll know everything about the house. So pre-approvals, it's one of my 5. So next week we're going to be talking about pre-approvals. I'm hoping to have one of my more favorite lenders join me and have a really, really good conversation. So thanks for the great questions. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next week for another brown bag luncheon. All right. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.